What is up, my friends? Welcome to Electrified Reviews. Today we are checking out the Aniioki AQ177 Pro Max. Now this is a pretty unique electric bike, honestly. I haven't reviewed one quite like it before. It's really heavy, weighs in at 116.4 pounds. Now just for reference, your average electric bike weighs around 55 to 65 pounds for an electric bike, and then for fat tire ones they can be as much as 80. But even though this is a smaller 20 by 4 inch fat tire bike, still tipping the scales at 116 pounds because of the massive battery, which has 2,880 watt hours of capacity. That is absolutely massive. Now, on other electric bikes, 1,000 watt hours of capacity would be considered pretty high capacity, and this is, almost 3 times that. Absolutely wild. Let's take a look at it here. Really sleek design. I'm a fan. I love black colored bikes, and it's got good tasteful branding on it. It also gives it a little bit of side visibility. And as you can see, the down tube is absolutely massive here. It is a step-through frame, but still feels quite rigid and stable just thanks to the size of the frame, and that's to house this gigantic battery right here. We'll take that out in just a little bit. Battery itself weighs 27.4 pounds. So if you're loading this onto a bike trailer or something, you can take the battery out, and then the bike by itself will weigh low enough to go onto a trailer or something like that. But it is still pretty heavy. We're talking about I think 87 pounds, 89 pounds for just the bike by itself. And I think that's just because it has to have a really thick, sturdy frame to be able to support that battery. But that's good if you want to be traveling at high speed. You want that support, you want that nice rigid frame if you want to be going around 30 miles per hour, which you can do on just the throttle pretty easily. It's got no shortage of power. You can do throttle via the full twist throttle, which I'm a fan of because I'm a motorcycle rider, so this feels like riding on a motorcycle to me to have this full twist throttle. But keep in mind, you're always gripping the throttle. So if you're going over bumps or riding off-road and something like that, it can be easy to hit some bumps and jostle and accidentally twist that throttle and take off. So just something to be aware of. This is not really designed for off-road riding. It's a bit too heavy and cumbersome. It's more for city streets. Now you do have full suspension on here, which is pretty sweet. You've got coil and hydraulic lockout suspension on both the front with the fork and on the rear back here, which is pretty awesome. And it feels a little bit on the stiff side, and I haven't quite tried to dial it in yet. And these are unbranded components, both for the shocks on the back and that front fork up there. It has the Aniioki sticker on it, but there's not any other kind of branding on it to say who the manufacturer is. Just from my test riding so far, they don't feel super high quality. They do a good job for sure. Like riding on city streets, it's going to be great, but don't try to push it on any heavy terrain. You wouldn't want to do that anyways with how heavy the bike is. Going around to just talk about some more of the bicycle components here. We've got a Shimano tourney derailleur back here. So this is pretty basic. This is the entry level from Shimano. So it's not very high performing, but it does well enough. And this is a bike that's really about the electrical power more than it is about pedaling. Yeah, you can ride it like a bike with no electrical assist, but why would you want to? It's way too heavy, and with a battery that big, you're almost never going to run out of power. So rely on your electrical system. That's what it's there for. You have a good double-sided bash guard, keeps your pants and other objects from getting stuck in the chain, and it comes with this passenger seat for the back. So if you wanted to carry someone on the back seat, you could. You'd have to get some foot pegs to install down here first to really make it worth doing. But keep in mind, this is only rated for 55 pounds back here, so you could bring a little kid back there with you, but this isn't a bike that you could ride 2 up with adults on. I think the overall weight limit for the bike is 350 pounds, which is pretty high for an electric bike, but still, not really 2 adults, especially with somebody sitting on the rack. And if you want to slide this off, it's pretty easy. It just slides forward, pops right off. I would show you right now, but we've got a little friend back here. I don't want to disturb him until I have to. Let's see, you get good full coverage plastic fenders on the front and the rear. These are nice and wide, provide plenty of coverage so you can ride in the rain if you need to. Good lighting system as well, fully integrated, so it's operated from the main battery. You have a taillight back here and then a huge motorcycle style headlight up on the front. This thing is nice and bright, and as a bonus you get turn signals on the front and the rear, and so you can control those from the motorcycle style controls over here on the left grip. You got your left and right turn signals, and you even get a horn. Really a buzzer. That's all that they ever seem to put on electric bikes, is just that buzzer, but it is extremely loud. That'll get someone's attention. It's a good safety touch. The brakes here are hydraulic disc brakes, And this is I haven't seen a rotor like this. It looks, it's definitely thicker than a lot I've seen before. It looks, I like the style of it. It looks cool. These are hydraulic disc brakes from DY Island. Now this is a brand that I have not heard of before, and they work well so far. I mean, they're, you know, hydraulic brakes, so they're a lot easier to actuate than mechanical brakes. You don't need a whole lot of grip force. But they do, I don't know, they feel a little like, just, I guess it's like lightweight almost, and I think it's because these are fairly thin plastic levers here, and so just squeezing on them, this part feels very lightweight and flimsy. Now that might just be, you know, just a feel thing because I haven't used them before, and hopefully they hold up pretty well. They are big, 180 millimeter rotors, so that's a good amount of stopping power. Really, you need at least that much on a bike that is this big, that has that much weight to it. If you're going at 30 miles per hour and you have to bring 130 pounds of, or excuse me, 116 pounds of bike plus your rider weight and any cargo to a stop, you need some powerful brakes. So I do hope that these hold up. If you're familiar with this DY Island brand for brakes and have thoughts to share about them, chime in down in the comments section. There's really a lot of new or unbranded stuff on this bike. That's one of the themes that I've noticed with it. And it is surprisingly cheap for what you get. You know, it's a 750 watt motor. It's got the huge, almost 3,000 watt hour capacity battery, hydraulic disc brakes, full lighting system, etc., etc. And it's coming in at just 1,800 bucks, which is really a good deal. Speaking of the battery, let's just, go ahead and jump into the electrical system here. I don't know what cells they're using in the battery. They told me that they're manufacturing their own battery cells. So that's a good thing in terms of cost. That's part of how they're able to get it so cheap, but also you don't really know, about like the safety certifications and stuff like that. Hopefully Aniioki can provide some more details on that, but I don't feel as confident with it as I do if I'm buying a bike that has cells that are from LG or Samsung, one of these reputable brands that have been making batteries for a long time. But anyways, let's take a look at the battery and the charging mechanism. Charging port is positioned up high on the frame, which is excellent. It's not at risk of getting hit by the pedals if you're moving the bike around while you're charging it. And check this out. This is like a standard, what do you call that? Like the standard plug that you see on an outlet in your house for charging, which is actually pretty awesome because that, I think, opens up more possibilities for like using it with inverters if you wanted to power other equipment. Aniioki actually has an inverter for it, although it doesn't come with the bike, it's extra. But still, it's a really nice feature. Let me stick this back in here and we'll get the keys out and pop out the battery. Key slot is over here on the right side of the bike, and you just turn it and it unlocks, and then you can grab it by the handle. Very glad that they included this handle because this thing is just, it's huge. 27 pounds right there. And fortunately you can charge it pretty easily off the bike. There's a same charging port on it right there. It's very just sturdy feeling, pretty easy to carry. You can check your charge right here. It's probably kind of hard to see in the bright light out here. But yeah, that's it. There's your battery. I'm gonna go ahead and stick it back in here now, and it's pretty easy to get in and out. You just seat it in the bottom right down there and then push it in. There's that nice click to tell you it's locked in, and then you're good to go. And then let's talk about the motor, the rest of the electronic system. We've got a rear hub motor back here, 750 watts nominal, so it peaks at probably around 1,000, maybe 1,100. And again, the Aniioki is manufacturing their own motor as well, so I don't know if they're partnering with anyone or not. But it feels pretty solid so far. I was able to get up to 30 miles per hour on just the throttle pretty easily. I haven't tested any extreme hills yet, but we'll try and do that in the ride test in just a bit. Talk about just kind of the rest of the components, the seating position, riding position, everything. It's a pretty upright to upright relaxed position depending on where you mount your handlebars. These are, I honestly really love these handlebars, this setup. It's kind of like a BMX looking setup here. You can adjust the handlebar angle forward or back, so if you like to sit more forward or you have long arms, you can do that. If you want to have a nice just sitting back, relaxed kind of a thing, that's easy to do too. I love it when they're adjustable like that. Saddle is super comfortable. This is nice and wide. This is something that you might find on a cruiser, and I think it really fits well on this bike, and just the whole aesthetic and everything of it. It's an awesome design. One shortcoming, which is really a nitpick, but I feel like I have to point it out, is that the kickstand is almost too long for the bike. I've actually got it parked kind of on a slant right here so that it doesn't tip over. But even on level ground, the kickstand's almost too long so that it tips over easily. Like I've had it just get knocked over randomly in the house because, you know, somebody brushed past it and barely touched it and it tips over. When it's this heavy of a bike, that's not ideal. And the kickstand is adjustable, but it's already at the shortest length. So that could be a possible upgrade you could do, is just swap that out for a little bit shorter of a kickstand. All right, let's take this thing for a spin, see what it can do. I've got it powered on already. Now, one thing I don't like about this display is that it is just not very bright. I mean, it's hard to see stuff on the camera anyways, but I'm not even wearing sunglasses. I can barely make it out without shading it. And even then, it's kind of hard to see. That's really the one shortcoming for this display. Other than that, it's solid. It's got a good readout of information. It has NFC tags that come with it so that you can use these to lock and unlock the bike instead of having to use a code, which is a great feature. I'm starting to see that on more and more bikes and scooters. So that, you know, it's a nice little security thing. Makes it harder for somebody to steal it. It always starts off in level 1, pedal assist. You have 1 through 5, which you can adjust on the controls over here on the left side. Now your top speed and your throttle are both linked to that setting. So if you're on level 1, you can only get up to like 8 miles an hour on throttle or on pedal assist. After that, you'd have to, you know, push past it on your own. And then, you know, as you go up those levels, it gets higher. At level 5, you cap out at about 30, 32 miles per hour. I was able to hit like 31 just using the throttle. Now you can, in the settings, you're supposed to be able to unlink those so that you can have full power throttle regardless of your assist level, but I wasn't able to get that to work. It actually kind of, like I switched the setting for it, and then it just made my throttle only go 3 miles per hour. I had to reset it to get it working again, so maybe I can figure that out later. But I would just, you know, expect those to be linked. I am gonna shift it on down to 0 for now and just start out riding it like a bike. I do this on all of my reviews now, just riding it without assist. And this is, you know, what if you were a long ways away from home and ran out of battery and you had to, you know, pedal home? Kind of unlikely considering this bike. Oh, I gotta shift down here. I forgot I had it all the way up in 7. There we go. It's unlikely you'd be in this situation since you have such a huge capacity battery, but it's still good to check out. Now, it's not terrible to pedal, but it is a good workout. You know, I'm in first gear, as low as it gets, and my cadence is still not super not super high. I'm going downhill now, at least, which helps. Let's get down this hill and ride on some flat ground. So, I mean, honestly, just riding it without any electric assist, it feels pretty good. I mean, I'm cruising at you know, 12, 13 miles an hour here. Not really putting in a lot of effort. So it's honestly easier than I thought it was going to be, which is good news, you know. The pedaling drivetrain feels pretty dialed in. But of course, the pedaling drivetrain is not, you know, that's not where the fun's at. So let's kick up the electric assist. I'm gonna pump it on up to level 3. Oh, and it kicks in real quick. We're already taking off. I'm gonna have to get to a higher gear. Level 3 caps out, you know, right around 18, 20 miles per hour for your top speed. You can reach it very quickly, especially if you're pedaling along to help out. And here in level 3, I'm already all the way up in gear 7 for my derailleur back there, so I can't shift up anymore as far as pedaling goes. So the motor's actually gonna outpace me, so I won't even be able to keep up pedaling pretty quick. If we bump this up to level 5, very fast acceleration, but you know, my legs are really pumping pretty quick. Then there's 30, and you can see, yeah, you can pedal along going 30 miles an hour, but it's not very fun. Your feet are really flying. So if you want to go that fast, you're going to be relying on just the throttle. But fortunately, it's very easy to do that. Now, the pedal assist system here is a cadence sensor, which means it measures the revolutions of the pedals going around. It doesn't measure pressure at all. So you have to cycle it a couple times. Like, you got to pedal around a couple times to get it to kick in. There's a little bit of a delay there. That's the disadvantage with not having a torque sensor. But this is nice because you don't have to put a lot of pressure on the pedals. You just have to get them going around, and then it will help you out. Let me try and demonstrate the delay here. Do it one more time from a dead stop. There's not a whole lot of a delay when you're first starting out from a stop. It kicks in pretty quick and is actually kind of a little bit jarring at the higher levels. But then once you're already traveling, if you stop pedaling and then start again, there's a good, few seconds delay. I feel like I pedaled maybe 5 times or so before it kicks in, and it's a very smooth ramp up, which actually does feel pretty good. I like it. So let's kick it off here. Oh, there it goes. Then I'll stop here and then start again. And there it goes. It's quite a significant delay when you're traveling at speed, but I don't think that matters that much, honestly. It feels nice and smooth, and I think that's way more important. It is a delay on both sides, so when you stop pedaling, the motor's gonna keep on giving assistance for just a little bit. So if you need to stop in a hurry, make sure you just squeeze those brake levers. They will cut power to the motor. You don't have to worry about fighting the electrical system when you need to stop quickly. It's pretty stable too. Not really feeling any frame flex. It's usually hard to ride no-handed on these like mini bike style 20-inch setups, but this feels pretty good. All right, gonna switch over to the chest cam so we can do some speed tests, go a bit faster. Gonna bump it up to level 5. So starting off, I'm gonna do a speed test on with pedal assist. So I'm gonna start in, with pedal assist level 5. I've got my gears in level 3. Just gonna take off, see how fast we can get up to that max speed. We're already shifted up to gear 7. And there's 30 miles an hour. We got there very quickly. All right, and we'll take it back the other way, and this time we're just going to use the throttle. I'm not going to pedal at all. Let's see what we can do. Still pretty solid acceleration. We're already past 20 miles per hour. There's 28. 29, and there we are at 30 miles per hour. These hub motors like this are, their acceleration is typically the strongest in the middle of their range, which is what you can see back there. When you're first starting off from a dead stop, it's not very powerful acceleration, but then, after, 5-10 miles per hour, it really kicks in. You get a nice solid burst. But then once I hit 25, it really started to slow up a bit. Now keep in mind, we do have a completely full battery, so this is the best case scenario for your acceleration. It's going to decline as the battery goes down, but typically you don't really notice any effects until, once you get below 50%. Since we can go fast here, we're just gonna ride in the traffic lane. We are holding steady at 30 miles per hour, and the bike feels great. Like it feels very sturdy and stable. I don't feel unsafe going this speed, although I am glad I'm wearing a helmet just in case. Having that high top speed is really nice on city streets like this, where the speed limit's 30 miles per hour. I can keep up with traffic if I need to. Now I'm kind of lucky here in Fort Collins. We've got bike lanes on almost all of our streets, lots of bike trails, so I don't have to ride with traffic that much. But if you live in a city without good biking infrastructure, having this kind of power and speed is a real asset. Now something I've noticed on this bike is that it seems to have some kind of a cruise control, where if I'm holding down the throttle, going 30 or so miles per hour, and then I let go of the throttle, then it just keeps going. Let me see if I can get it to do it here. Okay, we're going 29, 30 now. I'm gonna let go of the throttle, and yeah, I'm not touching the throttle. It's still just cruising. We're sitting at 29, 30. I assume that's intentional. If you squeeze the brakes just a little bit, then it activates that motor cutoff switch, and so it stops It stops giving it power, which is good. I've never ridden on one with the cruise control, and I don't remember seeing that in the manual, but yeah, it's kind of a cool feature. If you're going on a longer ride and you don't want to have to, you know, hold down the throttle the whole way, that's a nice touch. Alrighty folks, that is a wrap for the Aniioki AQ177 Pro Max. If you own this bike, or maybe just another bike from Aniioki, you know, chime in the comments section. Let me know what your experience has been with the brand so far. You can share your thoughts on this review. And also you can head over to our website, electrifiedreviews.com, for the full written review. We've got all the specs and even more details than we had in this review. The link is in the video description below. Thanks for riding along with me today, guys. I'll catch you in the next video.